John Summit, welcome back to Australia.
Thank you. I'm stoked to be here. What you guys say, the fans are absolutely frothing. But yeah, the energy is fucking unreal. And it's just really exciting. It kind of reminds me when I first blew up in America and just, I don't know. And I think people are very appreciative because it's a long travel and stuff, and maybe a lot of like other big artists don't really travel that far. So I just feel very welcomed home here.
Yeah, of course. Are there any other Australian isms that you've learnt?
Kickons.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know you're a fan of a kickon.
Oh, big time. And what else? Yeah, I think kickons is my main one.
Yeah. Well, you've got some good people around you teaching you the good stuff.
Yes.
You know, Dom Dolla, let's talk about him. He is someone that you are literally in a duo or a live duo with, everything always.
Yes.
So you two, Ultra Music Festival headline debut. That's not something that you do with just anyone. What is it about you and Dom Dolla that is like the ultimate back-to-back?
Well, I think we've had pretty similar stories in our come up. And then we've kind of been through this wild journey together. I mean, I think 3 years ago, I was playing at like 2 p.m. at Coachella. He was playing at 3 p.m. right after me. And then we've kind of like risen the ranks together.
Wow, yeah.
And then we've been like kind of like, you know, friends ever since. And it went from, I think the way we start everything always is, you know, at a kick-ons where, you know, he's crushing it, you know, I'm crushing it. And we're like, well, what if we, you know, do the 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing where, you know, if we combine forces, you know, it's like a mini like Avengers kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's just been awesome working with him and another like super creative mind and talent. And, you know, I think collaboration is the key to success, right?
Yeah. So for you, knowing that people are coming to see John Summit, going to these huge shows, you're playing some big rooms, how do you approach a set like that?
Well, I try to keep myself open-minded, and I love to play a little bit everything because I got a very ADHD scattered brain, and it's kind of hard. I get bored just playing kind of one sound, unless I'm like locking in for like a 10-hour set, and then because then it's like a totally that's a very like long distance run mentality.
Yup, yeah.
But I just like to keep people entertained, and I do a lot of flips, tricks, and little edits. So I guess if you see me live, the one thing I heard you guys don't like, at least Dom has convinced me, is apparently you guys don't like dubstep. It's a very American thing, but I guess maybe more the UK style of dubstep you guys would enjoy.
Okay, yeah. Well, love a bit of drum and bass, but I don't know if the dubstep is potentially more for that like early 2010s crowd.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I've not heard that.
Yeah.
I think one other Australian tie that you have is, and this went down the other night even, your remix of Sweet Disposition by The Temperature.
Yes.
You had Dougie join you on stage in Melbourne. Yeah. You've done that before in Coachella.
Yeah.
But what was it like for you seeing, because The Temperature are from Melbourne.
Yeah.
Hometown crowd.
It was
Australians taking that in with Dougie on stage. I got goosebumps talking about it.
It was absolutely insane, and it just like, I was just there witnessing it because, you know, I produced the remix. So then once it starts playing, he kind of takes it away singing wise. Yeah. And I felt like a little fly on the wall watching it all go down and just seeing all the fans just belt it out. I'm like, this is a fucking moment.
Yeah.
And he was telling me he doesn't come out for DJs really ever. And because he's really, you know, of course, performs it with his band. But he told me that I was like the first remix of it he really liked and was.
That's mad.
Yeah. So it was very much an honor for him to come out for it.
Yeah. Do you remember when you heard that song for the first time? Or?
Yes. I think it was. I hope I'm not wrong here, but I think it was on the soundtrack for 500 Days of Summer.
Yes. Yeah.
And, I watched that, I think, when I was in like middle school, and my older sister put me on it. And then that was not when I became like obsessed with the record, but then I think once I heard it again in a different setting, I was very nostalgic of it. And I feel like, do you think it's gotten like a second life recently?
100%.
Because there's so many DJs playing it out.
Yeah.
And because my remix of it was like the #1 played track by DJs in 2024.
Wow.
I didn't realize that, and it's kind of nuts.
I think what's also interesting about that song is that when it was released, it didn't take off at
Wow.
all in its first year, and then it was on the soundtrack for 500 Days of Summer. It's like that tall poppy thing, right? I don't know. Then suddenly we were paying attention. But there are songs like
by
that.
the way, I'm obsessed with this tall poppy syndrome thing too, because this is a term that no one knows about. It's strictly Australian and New Zealand, and Dom's the one that taught me about it. And he said Australians are just naturally a humble people.
Yeah.
Because is the tall poppy syndrome, is that a good thing, or is it like an ego death thing, or is it that you guys hold yourselves back because you're scared of judgment from others?
I think it's that you don't want to toot your own horn too much.
Yes.
And then it's also the notion that people, in order to be successful, or at least to be, I don't know, I think Australians have a perpetual fear of cringe. So when we see someone who's actually going for it,
I noticed that big time.
Yeah,
with
who
Australians.
is like being successful. It's almost like we love an underdog.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm not speaking on, but it's almost like we love an underdog, and then someone maybe gets a little bit. You can't get too big for your boots.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing where people have to go overseas, and then get successful there, come back, and then we accept them. But if someone's,
Very Lord of the Rings, like
go back and then
yeah.
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's this thing where people don't want to.
Do you think that could? I think that there's positives in that, and there's also negatives because I
100%.
think that you have to embrace the cringe. And someone that I blew up by just nonstop posting on the internet, nonstop posting on TikTok and all of that, where maybe to the outside person it was probably cringy.
Yes.
But it was by like relentlessly putting yourself out there, eventually it's going to catch on. But
you've got to big up yourself. You know what I mean? And I think that's a thing that, Australians and New Zealanders, we find a little bit hard to do. Like, because there is a point where, and I've seen it, the crowd turns.
Yes.
And suddenly you're arrogant. And you talk about yourself.
I deal with that all the time in America.
Yeah. How does that work for you, I guess?
Well, it's like, I treat it as entertainment, and also like I talk shit back, and I use like a very sports mentality kind of with it too, because it's like who has the LeBron has the most haters in the world, you know what I mean? And it's like he's undeniably great.
Yes.
So if you treat that mentality, and then I feel like just Americans in general, we're kind of very. We have the opposite of tall poppy. We're number one. We're the best. Blah, blah, and we let you fucking know. But which I'm not saying is like I think there's a proper balance in the middle. You know what I mean? But I think it's always good to support friends. Though I really lucked out being from Chicago, and I had these crazy dreams, and all my friends are like, "Fucking go take on the world."
Of course, yeah. Like I think sometimes it's the friends who are like cheering you on and egging you on, but then it's those kind of peripheral people. I also think we love to keep things to ourselves, to gatekeep a little bit, to have our own secrets.
Yeah.
So then when someone gets really big, we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you need to do that. That's success, right?
Exactly.
But someone who, I think I was listening to an interview, and I think you said in it, in 2020, you maybe had 10K Instagram followers.
Yes.
Looking at you now, over 1 million. But I feel like you still have a really, like I see you replying to comments. You still have that communication and that to and fro with your audience.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
It's tough. It's a big time commitment. And, maybe I should be, I don't know, maybe less responsive. I don't know. But it just, I've always taken it from like a community growing mindset. And, because obviously started small and it's just grown and grown and grown. Now just exponentially has grown. And that is a huge, thing I struggle with right now, which is why, I started the label Experts Only, which is more than just a label. It's like an events brand and, trying to be like a whole community brand and doing because when we do these events, we have a lot of activities and everything too. And I'm going to get very ambitious with it. But I think doing things like that is a good way to stay connected to the core fans, everything too, because I can't reply to 1 million fans.
Exactly. You have a channel where people can potentially reach you.
Exactly. And it's much bigger than me now, because with the label, there's like tons of artists on, and then seeing all the other artists, like for example, Max Starr, one of the artists I signed, he's absolutely blowing up right now and absolutely crushing it. So it's kind of, it's cool to see everything that's come since.
You came up through the underground Chicago scene. You started making music, and you've spoken about how you were on that grind, that you were sending tracks, demos, that you were, putting in pictures, you were getting rejections. How, now being someone in a kind of A&R capacity and having a label, how do you apply the feedback that you got to maybe a new artist who's hitting you and your team up? So
it's tough because you think you're sending because I would send like dozens of emails a day for demos and stuff like that, and you think you're getting rejected, but in reality, just like these messages just slip through the cracks because I get hundreds of demos a day right now too, and the truth is that I probably miss out on some amazing art and some amazing music, and it's just impossible for me to keep up. But there's so many other labels out there, so many smaller labels, and what I tell people is you gotta start small, just like a party. Start at a 30-person club to 100 people. You don't start out at Madison Square Garden. And so it does suck that I wish I could listen to every song get sent. I wish, kind of like Hollywood exec wishes they could read every script they get sent and everything too. But there's a little bit of luck involved. But I think that if you just keep shooting, you're eventually going to score, right?
Yeah. what was that turning point for you where you are, at what point in your life you're at college, was it, that you kind of went, maybe you're going to parties, you're going to events.
Yeah.
What was the motivation to get behind the decks?
It was when I started going to music festivals and stuff too. And then, because, just going to bars. So I was never really a club person. But we have this festival called Electric Forest that's in Michigan. It's very like beyond the valley here, which I really want to go to, by the way. I've never
played?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God.
I kind of want to just go as a fan, to be honest.
He's so up, and you could wear a little bandana.
Exactly.
No one can know who you are. Yeah,
exactly. And I'll have a doof stick.
Yeah. What would be on your doof stick?
No, I don't know. Apparently, it's pretty inappropriate, the things they have on that.
Oh, yeah. Some of them are not safe
yeah,
for work.
We'll figure it out. Well, yeah, it can't be like how the fuck we feeling, baby, because that'd give away that it's me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe definitely not. I'm definitely not John Summit.
Yeah. Or even just a mountain. Maybe that.
Yeah. Maybe something. Exactly. That could be cool. It'd be like the Double Diamond or something. So that got me into it. And then there's the renegade scene, and then I would be with a group camp, and there'd be decks at the camp, and it's just the classic. You're still doing the kickons, right? Where it's 3 a.m. and then your buddy's like, "Hey, hop on the decks," and you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, then you buy your own controller at home. My parents are like, "What the hell are you doing in your room 24/7?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Felt like I was doing something that was like illegal, but in reality, I was just practicing DJing.
Yeah.
And then it's like pretty much the weekend of DJing, I learned that I'm like, I don't want to DJ other people's music. I want to DJ my own. And then I went straight into production.
Wow.
And the rest was history there.
Yeah. Why was that? Where did that come from?
Because it sounds house music is just kind of inherently simple, and it's just like kick, hat, clap, and then you can get creative with it. And because I had nothing to lose, it just felt like I was like doodling at first too. But DJing, you have to do it in front of people, and because I'm just like by myself in my room every day, I lost the fun in that, where producing felt like it was an open canvas. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's great.
Yeah.
And you were someone who was making tracks literally for 8 years before you released your debut album last year, Comfort in Chaos. What's it like for you knowing that you've kind of put this body of work together after years of releasing records, singles, DJ tracks?
Well, it gave me enough time to get really kind of master production, because I don't want to, I really want to perfect my craft before doing a true album. And then also collecting influences from over the years, because it's it's a multi-genre album that has a lot of songwriting background. Like the intro track is very like Radiohead inspired, for example, and which was like my favorite band in high school. And then just throughout the album, I think it's just a true reflection of me as a person, as a producer, and especially. And then I actually had a story to tell too, because that was kind of after or during my huge come up and rise, and then which Comfort and Chaos is that I went from this accounting job of this extreme comfort but boredom, what I mean, and threw myself in chaos, and just trying to find the balance of it all was kind of the whole theme.
Yeah. Radiohead is an interesting reference.
Yeah.
I actually read that your parents listened to a lot of music in the house growing up. What were some of those artists that we might not expect that John grew up with?
They just loved rock and roll. So like ACDC was huge in the house 24/7, where I was kind of a more like indie hipster snob, and I'm like, because I feel like the classic kids don't love what the parents listen to. It's either you love it or you hate it kind of thing. And I was just like constantly like on the forums and like on like the 4chan forums trying to find like the best albums and stuff to listen to, and just like like Radiohead I really fell in love with, and just like Arcade Fire and Animal Collective and stuff.
Great.
Which was a lot of fun.
Very in that Tumblr era kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what?
90s kid.
Yeah, I know. What did it take for you to lock in though and make this album? What kind of boundaries did you have to set?
I had to take actually a month off touring, which is crazy for me.
Yeah.
And so, and actually had to settle in, and I've always been always really prolific when it comes to producing wise, but instead of just doing singles and actually making it all cohesive was the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Because normally I'm so scatterbrained, or I make a track and then the next day I make something totally, and just making it all cohesive is the hardest part. But I think that's where taking time off the road, actually sitting down and thinking of a whole concept is important. And I'm already looking forward to doing the next one too, because it was the hardest process ever, but also the most rewarding thing.
Of course,
It was like it's like, you know, doing like a race or something where during it you're like, I'm never doing this shit again. And then as soon as you're done, you're like, I want to sign up for the next one.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because it actually got me thinking about, even in Australia, some of our biggest commercially successful artists, you know, I'm talking Dom Dolla, Fisher, Peking Duck, they have never released an album. They don't even have a debut out yet, you know?
Yes.
And even...
it annoys me with electronic... I think it's... because you don't have to in electronic music.
That's true.
And the business doesn't rely on it, and there's no, like, really commercial element to it. But as someone who is, like, just in love with albums, and I think that's more of an artistic goal and dream. I don't know. So... I challenge and implore other electronic artists to do an album.
Yeah.
I'm putting it out there.
Do you know there's a producer, DJ queen we have here, Anna Lunoe, who, you know, she dropped her debut album last year after over 15 years in the industry.
Yeah, she's a legend. She's actually one of the acts I saw at Electric Forest that really inspired me to start DJing.
Wow, really?
Yeah. She played before Shiba-san. I remember this is like... would have been like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I thought she was the coolest, fucking biggest badass ever. And then we did a listen out tour a few years ago where I really got to know her. She's awesome.
Yeah.
I think she was pregnant while DJing when we were on tour together.
Yes.
She's like such a legend.
So what was it about that set that you saw all those years ago then?
She was it was eclectic. She didn't stick to one sound. She was kind of a little all over the place, and it was the perfect balance of like playing like edits of tracks I knew, and then also like putting us on to like, I was like, what the fuck is this kind of thing? I think it's even before Shazam, so I couldn't even Shazam.
Yeah. I think you'll really resonate. When she dropped this record, she said, I always felt like my artist voice had to be secondary to my DJ needs.
Exactly.
Which is like, you know, because you've got to make a living, you've got to keep up consistency, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and especially because, I mean, like on my album, I need to give her album a proper listen now that we're talking, is that like half the records aren't even like in my DJ sets. Because there weren't like, but I've never been able to just sit down and make music that wasn't meant for kind of others. You know, you're writing music for yourself, and the true artist way truly should be, you know, making stuff that, you know, you like. But it's tough being a producer as a DJ because you do think about just the dance floor mostly, you know?
Yeah. And you know, it's almost polar opposites because, or depending how you approach DJing, because, you know, an album is about reading yourself, but then when you're DJing, you're reading the room, you're reading the crowd, you're serving them, you know?
Exactly. So the approach I take to making music truly is that you have to, I think, write the songs and stuff for yourself, or not for yourself, but, you know, not meant for others, not meant for the dance floor, and whether it's for yourself or the people you're collaborating with. But then you can add the production to make it work on the dance floor. So, like, you think of it, Go Back was just chords and vocal, you know, and then, you know, I add house elements to it, so Focus adds drum and bass elements to it, and it ends up being a dance floor banger. But the original song wasn't written as that. So I think there's a way to kind of combine it all.
Which is also a marker of good song, if you can slow it down, if you can bear it back.
Because then you can still do an acoustic version too. Like if one day if I want to do a little Tiny Desk concert or something, strip everything all back, you know, so stuff like that.
So I'm hearing Tiny Desk. I'm hearing second album already. In motion.
I got a million ideas.
I was going to ask, you know, you were an accountant before this. Is there anything that you've learned, I guess, from being an accountant, a 9 to 5, being in that cubicle, that you've applied to any facet of your work, be it label stuff, be it DJ?
I mean, just the organization and work ethic and all of that. I mean, all of that is like good to know. I mean, it's like just doing any kind of like job, you know, growing up. I think it does good values, and you know, I do think work ethic.
Is that what you tell your dad if ever he's like, I'm like, no, but I've learned the work ethic.
It's no secret that artists, you know, lack discipline though. It's so you need the discipline, and then of course I can, you know, do my taxes and stuff and make sure.
You're very good at keeping a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So. You know, I'm not going to be one of those artists that really get screwed over that way. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's, especially with Experts Only, because that's more the business side for me right now, too, and having the label and signing artists and doing the events and all of that. So it's kind of a nice balance, because I think it's fun to work both sides of the brain, right?
Yeah. One of your bucket list items you've mentioned would be scoring a film.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
What are some of your favorite movies? I don't want to let it box you right now.
The Christopher Nolan movies are my favorite. And so, of course, then Hans Zimmer is my goat. So, and then John Williams as well.
Yeah.
So
I got to show you, actually, this was actually a track list. This was what you played for Mix Up.
Cool.
2021, March. So imagine this time 4 years ago.
Yes.
Might have even been during COVID. You might have even done it remotely.
Yeah.
Have a look at that and tell me, what do you think of that? That set list, I think it would have been about 30 minutes.
This is my tech house era.
Yeah?
Yeah, very tech house. And I do still love tech house, and especially when I play in Miami and if you know club space, that's really John Summit tech house. And when I play in Ibiza during the day and stuff too, and especially if I do like intimate boat part, it's just a more of an intimate sound. And this, if you think of the context though, is that if this is 2021, I would have never even played for more than maybe 300-400 people at this point.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so it's like I kind of really held myself back. And the first time I actually really worked with vocals is doing this You've Done Enough remix, which is Gorgon City and Drama. And that kind of gave me the confidence to do something like Where You Are. So this is a blast of the past here.
Wow, yeah.
This. Yeah.
Is there anything that's standing out that maybe you would still put in a set today?
Yeah, I just played Make Me Feel. And I kind of played that one for the OGs. Yeah, it's funny. And then Make Me Feel was a big one. Oh, no one I should bring back is, well, he's playing on the lineup though. He's been playing himself, is The Torn Foot, More Life. But then the remix of it I did for it is fucking wild.
I like seeing you look at that one.
This is fun. Yeah. So I still will play this sound, it just in a more intimate setting.
Yeah. Well, isn't that amazing that was 4 years ago at that time, playing to 300 to 400 people, and now selling out huge rooms across the country. Ultra Music, all of it. Madison Square Garden. John Summit, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us here at Triple J. Good luck for the rest of the shows. And we'll be waiting for album number 2.
Yes.